All right, let's get right into it. Today's explainer is all about achieving true digital independence. We're going to walk through the complete architecture of building your very own home server from the absolute ground up using a Raspberry Pi. We are finally taking back control of our data, our photos, and our media.
Seriously, think about this for a second. What if you could replace your expensive monthly cloud storage and streaming subscriptions with a single, tiny, credit card-sized computer? I know it sounds a bit like magic, but it's really just solid engineering and the right open-source software. By the end of this journey, you're going to have the power to host your own personal cloud, sitting right there on your desk. Here's the roadmap for today's masterclass. We'll start with the hardware and OS setup. Prep your storage drive, build out the Docker engine, set up image for your photos, spin up Jellyfin for your media, and finally, get global access working with Tailscale. Let's hit it!
Okay, first things first, hardware and OS setup. Every great project starts with gathering the right tools.
So what's actually on the desk? If you pick up a standard starter kit, like the one from CanaKit mentioned in the source material, it usually gives you the Raspberry Pi 5 itself, a case, a heatsink, a fan, a power supply, and a 128GB micro SD card. But keep in mind, the kit doesn't give you everything. You've got to bring your own Ethernet cable for a rock-solid connection because honestly, Wi-Fi just won't cut it for streaming high-def video. And you'll need a large external storage drive. Something like a 1TB SSD is perfect to hold all your actual data. Before we plug all this together, we need to give this thing a brain. Using a tool called Raspberry Pi Imager on your main computer, you're going to flash the operating system onto that micro SD card. We're going with Raspberry Pi OS Lite here because we are running a headless server, meaning absolutely no monitor or keyboard will be attached to it. We'll set a quick host name like MediaPi, and most importantly, we have to enable SSH. Once you hit write, it takes about 10 minutes, which is just enough time to physically snap the Pi case together.
Moving right along to Phase 2. Prepping your storage drive. Our freshly built Pi needs its external SSD formatted correctly before we can start hoarding our files.
Since we don't have a screen, how do we actually talk to our new server? We use SSH, or Secure Shell. Think of SSH as a protocol that lets you virtually teleport inside your Raspberry Pi. You just open up the terminal on your main Windows or Mac machine, fire off a quick command, and boom, you are securely controlling the Pi's internal brain from across the room. Quick aside here, guys, I want to offer a bit of a psychological safety net. If you're new to the command line, it can look totally intimidating. If any weird errors pop up on your screen, don't panic. The source heavily recommends literally just copying and pasting any errors into an LLM of your choice, like ChatGPT or Claude. You don't need to be an IT genius. Just let the AI explain the error and guide you through the fix. They are basically your 24/7 IT support who never judge your typos. Okay, so via our SSH connection, we run a chain of commands to prep that storage drive. First, we unmount the drive so we can safely work on it. Then, we wipe any old file signatures to give it a completely clean slate. Next, we write a fresh partition table and format it to ext4, which is the native file system for Linux. Finally, we edit a little file called fstab. Do not skip that last step. It's absolutely crucial because it ensures your drive automatically remounts every single time your Pi reboots.
All right, massive storage drive is prepped and ready. Step 3, building the Docker engine. Let's get the software environment set up.
We're going to be using Docker. Think of Docker as the ultimate app engine for your server. Instead of dealing with messy software installations that tangle into each other, Docker smoothly downloads and runs isolated software packages called containers. It essentially takes the incredibly complex concept of server containerization and makes it feel as simple and clean as installing apps on your smartphone.
Getting Docker running involves a specific curl command to pull their official install script. But listen closely to this warning from our source. Be incredibly careful with curl commands. Never ever just blindly copy and paste random curl commands from forums into your terminal. Always verify they point to an official trustworthy source, like Docker's actual website. Once you verify and run it, you just add your user to the Docker group to fix the permissions and run a quick Hello World's container just to prove the engine is purring perfectly.
Now for the really fun stuff. Section 4, Image, your new personal photo cloud. This is your completely private, self-hosted alternative to things like Google Photos or iCloud. Once we pull the image container through Docker and start it up, how do we actually see it? That's where port 2283 comes in. By simply typing your Pi's network name followed by a colon and 2283 into your web browser, you instantly open the beautifully polished image interface. It's amazing.
You can even download their mobile app and sync your phone's camera roll directly to your Pi in real time.
Hold up, though. Before you go canceling your cloud storage, we have to talk about the 3-2-1 backup rule. Self-hosting is brilliant, but relying on one single hard drive for your irreplaceable family memories is a terrible idea. Hard drives die. It's just a fact. You need to keep 3 total copies of your data on 2 different media types with 1 copy stored entirely off-site, like at a friend's house. Always have a fallback for those precious photos.
Photos are sorted and safe. Let's talk movies. Section 5. Jellyfin, aka your personal media server.
Quick heads up, if you're using a Raspberry Pi 5, sometimes complex software needs a tiny environmental tweak. With the Pi 5, Jellyfin might just stubbornly refuse to start. The fix? You have to dive into the boot configuration file and force a 4096 kernel memory page size, overriding the default. It's a super specific troubleshooting step, but man, it is exactly the kind of knowledge that will save you hours of pulling your hair out.
With that little fix applied, we validate our Docker Compose config and access Jellyfin through the browser on port 8096. You'll walk through the gorgeous user interface to map out your movie and TV folders, but pay close attention to that last point on the screen. Because the Pi is a tiny low-power device, it doesn't have a dedicated graphics card. You absolutely must go into the settings and set hardware acceleration to none, or you are definitely going to run into playback errors.
So how do you actually get your massive 4K video files onto the Pi without typing complex terminal commands all day? We use Samba. Samba is a network file sharing protocol, and it works beautifully behind the scenes. It makes your Raspberry Pi magically appear as a standard regular drive folder right on your main laptop or desktop.
It really doesn't matter if you're Team Windows or Team Mac for this. You can use Map Network Drive in Windows File Explorer, or just hit Command+K to connect to server on a Mac. It is incredibly straightforward. Once you authenticate, the Pi's media folder just sits right there on your desktop. You literally drag and drop your movie files into the server, and Jellyfin instantly scans them and pulls in all the beautiful cover art.
Okay, the final boss. Up until now, this entire setup only works while you're connected to your home Wi-Fi. Let's fix that with Section 6, Global Access with Tailscale.
If you want to stream your media from an airport or back up photos over a 5G network, we use Tailscale. Tailscale is basically a magic tunnel. It acts as a zero-configuration VPN that securely links your phone or laptop directly back to your Raspberry Pi anywhere in the world. It completely bypasses the absolute nightmare of complex router configurations and dangerous port forwarding. You just install the app, log in, and you're immediately connected to your home network.
But huge pro tip from the source material here: disable key expiry. By default, Tailscale security keys expire every 6 months. If you forget to change this, half a year from now, your server is going to mysteriously drop offline while you're on vacation, leaving you totally confused. So log into the Tailscale admin console right away and disable key expiry for your Pi so that magic tunnel stays permanently open.
And boom, just like that, you've built it. You now fully understand the hardware architecture, Docker containers, local networking, and global VPN access. I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Now that you have the infrastructure and these new skills, what are you going to self-host next? A password manager? A smart home controller? And most importantly, are you finally ready to take total ownership of your digital life and cancel those monthly subscriptions? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and happy hosting.